Hi, everybody, and welcome to our last video lesson of the semester. Doubt anybody's really going to miss these. Definitely out of my comfort zone. But thanks for your patience. I know this wasn't what we signed up for at the beginning of the semester, but we made it through. And that's what, hopefully we're all healthy, and those are the most important things. So here we're talking about two countries, dos países de Sudamérica. Esta vez vamos a hablar un poco sobre dos países del norte de Sudamérica, que son Perú y Ecuador. Entonces, a ver, ¿qué tenemos aquí? Entonces, dice, Perú y Ecuador ponen a la vista un tesoro de diversidad cultural, ecológica, gastronómica y topográfica. Ecuador es uno de los países más biodiversos del mundo. Tiene más de 20.000 especies de plantas y alrededor de 1.500 tipos de aves. Aves son pájaros. Además, en los últimos años, Perú experimenta un gran desarrollo económico. So, particularly in the past 15-20 years, from what I did a little research on the topic, Peru really has developed a pretty diversified economy compared to most Latin American countries. They have a number of exports, both agricultural and other natural resources, minerals. They have a growing services sector with a lot of tourism and also some manufacturing. So quite a few good things going for them. ¿Qué más tenemos? Aquí hay muchos caminos que conducen a Cusco, pero ninguno como el camino Inca, el más famoso de las Américas. So we've probably heard of the Inca civilization, and Cusco was the Inca capital, and it was also traditionally the capital of Peru. So Lima is a bit newer. Just like many capitals, they're kind of centralized, which is to say that they kind of, a lot of roads lead to them, and we see here El Camino Inca is one of them. So we'll talk about in a bit that we also still see a considerable amount of Incan influence in these countries. ¿Qué más? Un poco de naturaleza. Entonces, el archipiélago de las Islas Galápagos es famoso por su impresionante variedad de vida marítima y terrestre, como los pájaros búhos de patas azules. Es aquí también donde el investigador Charles Darwin descubrió que las especies habían evolucionado para adaptarse a las condiciones de cada isla. So Charles Darwin, actually, a lot of his observations that led to his book on the origin of species, which proposed the theory of natural selection and evolution, a lot of his observations took place on the Galapagos Islands, particularly with finches. So he noticed that depending on what a finch ate, because he was looking at different species. I hope my dad doesn't see this. He's a retired professor of science education, and he probably would not be satisfied with my explanation. But he saw that their beaks were shaped differently on these finches depending on what they ate, because they were pretty isolated on these different islands. And that was one of the main things that led him to his theory of evolution. Muy importante en la historia de la biología. Luego, un poco sobre la comida. Entonces, la cocina de Perú y la de Ecuador son una fusión de tradiciones andinas y marinas, y hoy cuenta con algunos de los chefs más destacados del mundo, desde la gran variedad de papas y maíz hasta los mariscos del famoso ceviche en salsa de limón, chile y sal. Hay algo sabroso para todos los gustos. I've tried ceviche. I had that in Costa Rica and Mexico, so who knows how authentic it was. But it was interesting because it's essentially raw fish. And at least the way it was explained to me was they essentially cook it in lemon juice, which they told me is essentially cooking it because it's acidic enough that it's killing the bacteria. Again, as I've made abundantly clear, I'm not a biologist, so I don't know. I couldn't tell you if that holds up to scientific rigor, but I didn't get sick. I was nervous. Ahora, un poco de naturaleza. Entonces puedes descender por un sendero entre abundante vegetación y cruzar el puente colgante para observar la espectacular vista de la cascada El Pailón del Diablo cerca de Baños en los Altos Andes de Ecuador. Let me finish the sentence. The paragraph. Por ser volcánica, la temperatura del agua es de 23 grados Celsius o 73 Fahrenheit todo el año. So a good portion of both of these countries are in the Andes mountain range, which is the largest mountain range in South America. And here we can see there is also some volcanic activity, which creates these hot springs. That's the word I was looking for. It's also very interesting to see the effect of the Andes on the climate. So, do we know what the word Ecuador means in Spanish? Ecuador, la República del Ecuador. Oh, my sister. I think she was making bread. I think that was what she texted. How do I make that go away? And then my mom replied. Okay. So, where was that? What was that talking about? All right, Ecuador. So it means equator. Ecuador means is the Spanish word for equator. So what do we suppose the weather is like if it's right on the equator? Well, let's take a look. So Quito is the capital of Ecuador. And it's more impressive when I do this live in a classroom. No, I don't want one. So let's take a look. We would think it'd be pretty hot, right? All the time. But it is 57 degrees. Let's take a look at a full forecast. If it'll load. High of 68 tomorrow. Low 46. Let's take a look at the 10-day forecast. My internet is slow today. High of 68, high of 67, 66, 66, 69, 69, 70, 69, 68. Right on the equator. But if we look here, I don't know if it's going to be on this one. No, it's probably not. if we look at the elevation, 9,350 feet. So actually, it's really like that, mid to high 60s to mid 70s all year long. So even though it's right on the equator, a lot of areas of it, due to the altitude being in the Andes, are actually very nice from a temperate, very temperate areas, not too hot. Y finalmente, esto no tenemos aquí. El Jirón de la Unión es una calle peatonal en el centro histórico de Lima. Durante muchos años fue la vía más importante de la ciudad y donde vivía la gente más acomodada. Hoy es donde la gente pasa para comprar ropa, comer o reunirse con los amigos. So this is kind of the main street in Lima. Historically, it had been kind of where all of the richest people lived. We also see, this is probably a new word for us, calle peatonal. Peatonal means that it's a walking street, so no cars. Zona de peatones, or zona peatonal, if you ever see that, is like, it can be a crosswalk, it can be a walking area, it just means no cars on foot is what it means. If you ever are in a Spanish-speaking country and see that, that means you walk there. Historically, yeah, it was where all the rich people lived, and now it's become kind of a shopping district, as we can see, lots of people there. So that's a little bit about Ecuador and Peru. We got anything here on this next page? Anything fun? You can see population. Not too much. This is interesting. So especially, we can see there are a number of indigenous languages that are still spoken. And they are recognized. This is very common in Latin America. Virtually any indigenous language is going to be recognized as an official language under its constitution. We see Quechua up there. And Quechua is one of the most prominently spoken indigenous languages in all of Latin America. You can even take Quechua at OSU, even. And really, what it is a modern variant of the Incan language. And there are a lot of people who are bilingual, who speak both Spanish and Quechua, or if you get into some of the more rural areas, particularly up in the Andes Mountains, you will see even some people who only speak Quechua. Tarjetas de crédito, if I travel outside of the United States, honestly, I am hesitant to use a credit card just because a lot of places don't accept them, unless it's like an airport or something like that. Because credit cards are not very common outside of the United States. If anything, people are going to use debit cards. But here it tells us everywhere but kind of the traditional markets, you can use a credit card. But it's common to get a lower price if you pay in cash in Peru. I've seen that in a few places here. I got a strip of carpeting for a cat tree I built. I got like $1 off because I was like, oh, I can either put it on a card or I have $5. And he's like, let's do $5. Let's do cash. Or I've seen it at a few gas stations as well. And this is quite common in any part of Latin America, really, that especially small stores, markets, plan on paying cash. And we can see here they both export a number of textiles. So that is it. Here's a map. We can see the Andes mountain range kind of going right through the middle of these countries here. So our last homework assignment of the semester is doing these two exercises. I'm not gonna assign the video thing just because I imagine you've got enough on your plate this week. I know this is the last week and people are kind of trying to cram things in, so I don't want to add to that, but I would definitely recommend watching those videos. You're going to be doing them for the MSL anyway. And there is a question sheet in there, I believe. But definitely make sure to watch those because those could be entering on the final as well. I know I haven't been great about, and I apologize, about getting the answers to the homework. I've been having trouble uploading files to Carmen. I don't know why. Into the modules, it hasn't been letting me. So what I'm going to do is once this last homework assignment is turned in, I will give you just a PDF of the entire chapter. And then hopefully it'll let me do just one file, and that'll work for us. But I do apologize for the technical difficulties. I've learned a lot about technology the past semester, or the past month, I should say, this semester. But I still have much to learn. Bueno, entonces, si tienen preguntas, por favor, no duden en publicar en el foro de la clase. Gracias por mirar hasta ahora y hablamos pronto.